Hello, everybody. Jeff Cross here, and another edition of Changing the Face of Officiating on the YouTube channel, Jeff Cross. Um, Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please email those to jeffcross22@gmail.com. And you can also comment below on the YouTube channel underneath the video. But I need you to continue to subscribe, so that way we know that we're reaching people, and then I also need your feedback for any topic discussions or things that maybe you would like to see covered, and maybe even special guest, or however you want to do. But I need all the information you can give me so I can continue to make it a better product for you. So, all right, without any further ado, our guest today is Miss Abby Burmeister. Say hello, Abby.
Hello.
There you go. Very good. Abby is I see you're doing well. Oh, did you see that? Abby said hello. It was great.
All right, we done here?
Yeah, that's right. All done. Abby is a NCAA basketball official at the Division I, all the way down to Division III. She lives in the Wisconsin area, and I believe she's also worked some high school tournament series. So, Abby, if you just wouldn't mind, just say a few things about your officiating career.
I'm headed into my 12th season already,
Awesome.
and I started doing middle school games like a lot of people out there did. I actually got to ref my first ever basketball game with my dad
Oh,
in a,
wow.
in a tiny little gym, some fifth grade boys, and I just got the bug, and I've gone from there. I've had the opportunity to work some state tournaments at the high school level, and have tasted a little bit of some Division I checks, and I like it, and so I want to keep going with it as much as possible.
Very cool. So 12th season, in that's 12th season of actual refereeing basketball, correct? Not NCAA basketball?
Correct.
Awesome. So you're still very young in your officiating career, would you say?
I am. I would say this is my fifth or sixth season as a college referee.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, I don't know. Did you get a chance to watch my last segment on accountability?
I did. Big fan of the YouTube channel here. So
YouTube all the way. That's right. So hopefully we're on to something good. So could you maybe just give me your thoughts on what you saw in that last segment?
I think the topic of accountability is obviously really important, but I think sometimes we just use it as a buzzword. We say it's really important, but I think what would be helpful is just some examples of why it's important, and what, I guess for me, I'm curious, as a Division I referee, what kind of experiences have you had where you've had to deal with actually being accountable for yourself? Because you gave us a lot of examples of things that we should and maybe shouldn't do, but from your experience, have there been times where you've had to maybe get on a phone with an assigner and really say, hey, I blew it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to just say that, because accountability, it is most definitely a buzzword. And I believe the further we go in officiating, whether it be into NCAA Division III, II, and I, but the higher we go, accountability becomes a very real word. And unfortunately, when I first started, I didn't feel like I had to be that accountable in high school games or even in elementary games. We've all been there where we've walked in elementary. The only accountability you have to have is that you showed up. That was it. So I realized real quick in my career that accountability was a very real thing. And it had happened. Probably my biggest accountability time was I think it was like my second year in Division I. I had a game. It was a Division I game. I was very happy to be there, and probably even over my head at one time, because I was like, what am I doing here? We had a scenario where we had a shot go off, the whistle blew, my partner blew the whistle and said 2 shots. I, said, as I walked by my partner, I said, hey, that ball went in. Now, when my partner walked by, I go, okay, thank you, whatever it was. And then we ended up shooting just one free throw. The coach lost their mind. All this, I mean, you could just feel everything closing in on you and realizing that when you say a ball goes in and it didn't, or potentially didn't, in a Division I game, it has so much more magnified impact than if you did that in the sixth grade game with your dad. They'd be like, oh, I
Yeah.
thought I did, all right, whatever it is. As I continued on in that game ended up going into overtime. It ended up having a technical foul. A lot of things happened. And even after I got done with that game, we walked in the locker room. I'm like, we did okay. Oh man, that coach was difficult or whatever it was. And we almost even forgot about the fact that we had counted a basket that we didn't really know if went in or not. Of course, according to the coach said it didn't go in, and we thought it did. Or at least I thought it did anyway. We go have dinner. We do all the things we have to do. And then literally at 7:00 in the morning, Central Time, I have a phone call from my boss at 7 in the morning. Now that isn't typically working hours. Working hours would be maybe 8:30, 8:00 at the earliest, but typically 9 to 5. And my boss is on the phone and says, did you see the email? Have you seen the video clip? And I'm like, no, I barely awake, let alone seeing a video clip. And come to, lo and behold, the ball didn't go in. The other team should have won. But I had to accept the reality that a mistake was going to be handled directly, and you had to be accountable for your mistake right away. Now, this wasn't some sort of scenario where it was a judgment. The ball did not go in the basket. And when I have to do
It's
that,
very black and white.
Very black and white. So I couldn't defend it. I learned real quick in my career, you are not going to get anywhere by going, well, I should have done this, or well, I should have done that. Baloney. Take responsibility for your mistake, and how are you not going to do it? Because I remember one of the questions was, what did you learn from this? Well, I learned to keep my mouth shut. You know what I mean? I learned to keep my mouth shut and be, not just 90% or 100% or even 110%. If I'm going to get in the way of what I saw, I want to make sure that I really know that I saw it. I think it just brought me way more focused into the game, and probably was the biggest thing. It kickstarted my career because I knew I didn't want to get my butt chewed every night. I knew I did every morning at 7:00. I could not handle phone calls from my boss on those situations. So it forced me to be very much more accountable in that way. So how about you? You got any good stories like that?
Well, there's one that comes to mind. I'm sure there are more, but the one that I did get kind of called out on was I was working a Division III game in Randy's conference, and there was, a few seconds left in the game, and the team that was down had the ball, and suddenly the ball comes loose, and the clock goes, and coach goes ballistic. So there ends up being this sort of controversial no call at the end of the game. And, right away, it's not my primary. So, I'm not responsible for it. But I called Randy more to tell him that the coach was being, belligerent with us after the game. And she had come out and she was yelling at us and, hoping that he would just be like, oh, you guys are fine, whatever. But, he went and looked at the film, and he came back and had all kinds of feedback for us. And right away, I just wanted to be defensive about it, because even though it wasn't necessarily my primary, it was my secondary. And here I have my assigner telling me it is a foul. And instead of just, like you said, kind of just keeping your mouth shut, for me, I was just very defensive about it. And I think that it's very easy for us when we get emotionally attached to our plays to not look at things objectively.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a humbling moment, especially because then he posted that on his website, for everybody to see. And I think it was a great learning tool, but it's kind of tough not to wallow in your pity a little bit about it, because no one wants to be on film doing the wrong thing. So
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anybody wants to be wrong in general.
mm-hmm.
From coaches to players to officials to coordinators, no one wants to be wrong. The biggest thing that you said here is, it was, you said, I wanted to fight back. I wanted to fight because I was emotionally attached to that. And if we can just disconnect from it and just see it, I think that's a great learning tool. And it helps you to be accountable. If our boss says we missed something, whether it's at work or on the basketball floor, then we missed it. There's not an argument there. Unfortunately, they are the ones that are giving out games, or they're the ones who have the experience or the expertise to give that advice. So yeah, I think that's huge. And how long did it take you to get in that scenario to where, okay, I'm just wrong?
In all my communications with Randy, I was like, yeah, I'm wrong. And I mean, I said it more respectfully than that, but in my head, it was really like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really just had to sit and watch the film and detach myself from it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to watch it like I was Randy. And, I think he maybe watched the entire game just to kind of see where things ended up. But I just had to see it from someone else's perspective instead of my own, and not wanting to be wrong. And so I think that's ultimately, like you said, how we learn, is when we just remove ourselves from it and look at it with more open eyes. So
yeah. Do you think, how do you think that's affected your career as you've moved forward now? This was what, last year or 2 years ago?
this was two
Yeah,
seasons ago.
2 seasons ago. So as you move forward and you approach games and approach post games, how do you think it affected you?
Well, I think now I'm way more open to sharing those kind of situations with people, because I think like it's way better to share it than to be in that scenario again and have someone else have to go through it. And so I think that's how we get better as officials. We share kind of our battle stories, and even the stuff that makes us look kind of bad. If we can save someone else, we're only doing the game a favor. So.
Do you think, can you think of any one scenario that that was shared with you that put you in that, that said, man, I'm glad they shared that with me, because that, it saved me 6 games later because I just heard about this play or that scenario?
I can't think of anything specific off the top of my head, but I know a lot of things when we talk about different rules that come up and just by talking and sharing different clips with people, you can learn so much. I can't give you one off the top of my head. I'm sorry, I'm not that bad.
No, that's okay. I think, for me, I can remember, people sending me clips all the time. And one of the things that when I would send out clips, one of the things that I remember is when I sent out clips, I go, okay, well, I'm assuming they're going to tell me I got it wrong. But when I started early in my career, I used to send out all these clips that I got right, at least what I felt that I got right.
Yeah.
I would do that. Oh, I can't wait to hear back from Abby and Randy and whoever and say, tell me how good I am, right?
Yeah.
And then the email would come back, Jeff, and I'd go, well, wait. So I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision. First of all, do I want to keep on sending these people clips because they tell me I'm wrong? You know what I mean? Or I got to figure out the way to be better, or whatever. Which way am I going to learn from this? So I figured out real quickly that I believe I became a better official in that time frame when people were telling me about the plays that I missed. I think everybody doesn't need to see video clips of them getting plays correct.
Right.
And
we actually do it a lot. we get a lot of plays right if you think about it. So
Absolutely
we
right.
don't
So
need to
if
see
you,
them.
yeah, I mean, if you go and look at a game film, if you get a game film afterwards, you got whatever. We'll just say 2 hours of game film. From free throw, from opening tip to the final buzzer, could be 2 hours. And if the three of us have to make each one of us have to make 30 decisions, I bet we only miss 3 or 4 of those in that time. So, but when we take those 3 or 4, and we send them to honest people. Don't send them to people that we think are going to just give us the answer that we want to hear. Send them to honest people who are going to put some honest thought into what they're seeing and what they believe they're seeing. And even sometimes even raise questions like, how come you didn't do this? Or how come you did this? Because you or me may do some sort of mannerism that they haven't seen before, they haven't noticed, so they want to know why you're doing that. And then you have to, I would look at that and go, okay, I got to figure out why I did that. Why did I do that? Was that mannerism necessary? Was that communication necessary? So I think those are things that, we look at film all the time, but are we looking at them in a purpose to get better, opposed to the purpose to tell us how great we are?
Yeah, I think we have to be genuinely open to feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very easy to go to our buddies and say, well, this is what I think about the play. And then already we're jading their thoughts
That's
about,
right.
what we want them to say.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great things that can be learned from game
So
film.
do you think we can get accountability from, do we, our accountability, is it going to get better from watching game film, reading the rule book, or maybe even getting better at our communication skills?
I mean, I think it's all those things, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
That
I
was a little
think,
softball you just tossed me there.
yeah, you said this is easy, right? I thought this was going to be difficult, Jeff. This is easy stuff. I got that one out of the park. Well, and I think they're all very important, but ultimately, if we study our game film to make ourselves more accountable, our communications are not going to be as that difficult, because
Right.
what's happening is you're getting more plays correct, and you're fixing your positioning. So then you're not going to be arguing with the coach or a player or disagreements all the time. So now, if you go whatever 4 10-minute periods, you may only have that discussion once or twice, or maybe once a period. So 4 times, that's it for whatever that discussion is. So now we don't have to necessarily be excellent in our communication skills, but because we can tune that into 4 different times to make us better, opposed to, man, I'm just really struggling with my communication. If you're asking yourself that question, if you're asking yourself, man, am I struggling with communication? Well, maybe because we have to do it all the time, because we haven't worked on our play call, because we haven't, made ourselves accountable on breaking down film.
I agree.
Yeah. What are some of the things that, communication is always a big thing for all officials? What are some go-to moves for you? I don't know if go-to moves, but what are your weaknesses and your strengths there?
So I think ultimately having the rules knowledge, and I think confidence is going to help with the communication. And so we have to control the things we can control, because we can't control what a coach is saying or doing,
Mm-hmm.
but we can control how knowledgeable we are with the rules. And that gives us kind of very scripted responses if we can pull things directly out of there. And I'm just saying these things based on what I am aspiring to be, because I'm not the best with communicating with coaches.
None of
But
us are. None of us are.
I think we can control our appearance, how fit we are and how much we're keeping up with the play. And I think those things play in, we can know the CCA manual, where we need to be when. Those are all things that we can control. And when we start to control those things, then we have more confidence in what we're doing. And I think confidence is just going to help in our communication. But that would be my reverse question to you, as someone who is working significantly more Division I games, what are your tools? You know, we sat at the NCAA meeting and listened to that coach on the coaches panel, and it doesn't really seem like there's anything cut and dried coming from a coach's perspective that's like, yeah, these things make me want to have you on my game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she kept coming back to respect and those things, which are important, but what kind of tools can you give people to have in their back pocket when they're communicating with coaches?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. First of all, I'll say this about communication. It's an art. You have to be, the Van Gogh of communication, whatever that art is, you have to be your own artist in your communication. Second thing is, I think it's very important is we need to, no different than breaking down film or looking at a play, how we got to detach ourselves from the play. We have to be the one that's just relaying the information. When a coach is fired up about a call or a lack of or whatever that is, or a ruling, they are fired up in a scenario to where they're emotionally attached to it. And then when they're talking, can you hear that helicopter going by?
No.
There's a helicopter going by. Hope we're not getting attacked. Anyway, so you have to, sorry about that, I got distracted. So a coach is emotionally attached to what they're saying. When we respond, if we respond and we're emotionally attached to what we're saying, what happens? Those two emotions come together and create this great big storm. There's a cold front and the warm front come together, and we got twirling winds, and there's a big tornado that happens, and people are everywhere. Cows are flying across the thing. It's a whole thing, right? So we need to find a way to just let the coach just pass on the information. We do that all the time. When a coach barks out, that's travel, and we bark out, no, it's not. Well, now we're just arguing back and forth. That's not the communication. And I believe that's where coaches, they don't necessarily think about, I want to be able to communicate good with the official. They just want their team to win. Because they're attached to that team and they're attached to practicing every day with that team and competing and trying to get them to win. It's not necessarily about the money. It's about the time and the effort that they put together with that team over the summer and take team building trips, and all that time has come to the last 30 seconds of the game, and we have a travel call or we have a lack of. That's what they're attached to. When we just needed to attach ourselves to the rule. We're going to pass on this information. So if we can do that and just relay the information, this is why it's a travel. And I think we also need to realize too, in communication, is just because a coach says something doesn't necessarily mean they want to be communicated to. And that's where the art comes in. If we have an art, if we're good enough at recognizing when a coach is saying something to just say, or the coach is saying something because they're looking for a response. They're looking for that answer. They're looking for a reason why that call was there or why it wasn't there. And what is the best way to do that? I say, ask them. It's pretty simple. Just ask them. When you see a coach getting fired up and you think they want to answer, I'll simply say, do you want to hear my explanation? Nope. Okay, then we're good. I'm not going to give you an explanation that you don't want to hear. Or they may say, it may get them to realize, yeah, I'm asking him a lot of questions. Let me hear what he has to say about this play. And now you're on. The spotlight's on you. You got to be able to respond and pass on the information. So that's what I think probably the two big things for communication are that are going to make you successful and at least be able to pass on the information so it is at least heard, opposed to, it's just two people yelling back and forth and nobody heard what anybody's saying. Does that help?
Yeah. I mean, is there, I guess for me, like, I'm in a game and the coach is bringing up how many fouls I've called against them. Are you giving them a warning right away? Or how are you talking them off the ledge?
Yeah, well, if they're saying how many fouls I've called,
yeah,
Yeah, I might even say something, it just happened to be in front of me.
Yeah.
Is there a particular call you're concerned about? Or is it just all of them?
Kind of put it back on them a little bit.
Yeah, because they may be just saying, you've called 6 fouls against them, none against them. I know it's weird. I wish I could do something different about that. Whatever that is. I wish. Listen, anytime you can agree with a coach, it's probably going to be a good scenario. I've said this before. I'm not sure if I said it on any YouTube videos, but when a coach questions a rule and it's a goofy rule, you say, I agree with you. I agree. It's a goofy rule, but this is the way the rule is. I wish I could administer it differently, but I can't, because if I do, I lose my job. Those kind of scenarios. So, all right, listen, our time's about up. Was there any other questions?
Alrighty, we're done. That's it.
Yeah, it's 25 minutes. Yeah, okay. I know time goes by fast when you're with me, because I'm always yakking. You're just happy to have actually adult conversation opposed to goo goo gaga, goo goo gaga with little babies. So that's good. Yeah. So, all right. Abby, thanks again for spending just a few minutes of the day and with us. And I think hopefully we're all getting better from these conversations. And maybe we'll get together again some other time and talk about a few other things. So, but if everybody out there in YouTube land, if you have any questions, email me at jeffcross22@gmail.com, or put a comment below in the YouTube channel and the YouTube video. Subscribe to my channel, Jeff Cross, on YouTube. And Abby, if they have any questions for you, can they email you?
Yep.
What would it be, that email address?
Bickle, BICKEL.Abigail@gmail.com.
So it's not Burmeister, it's Bickle. I got it. Bickle at Abigail. Bickle.abigail@gmail.com.
Correct.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you taking just a few minutes out of your day and checking us out. We'll see you next time. See you later, Abby.
Bye.